We have to end this sanctuary cities crap fast.
There are more than 200 cities and counties across the U.S. with policies instructing local law enforcement not to investigate the immigration status of suspects or prisoners in their custody. These sanctuary cities are a target of the GOP this primary season, with candidates jumping to characterize them as lawless city-states whose leaders have blood on their hands.
As these mayors, these city officials, they are partners in crime. They should be held criminally liable as accomplices.
I don't think you can have whole cities or whole states just not obeying the law.
San Francisco has been a sanctuary city since 1989. There are 300 of them. And meanwhile, what has happened? Nothing.
On July 1st, Kate Steinle was walking with her father along Pier 14 in San Francisco when a bullet ricocheted off the ground, struck her in the back, and killed her. The gunman was an illegal immigrant from Mexico named Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez.
Kate Steinle was hardly the first case, but because she was young, she was attractive, the guy who killed her was about as disgusting as you could come up with, it caught on with the press, and it was a story that, had to be covered.
Don Rosenberg is an activist affiliated with Californians for Population Stabilization, an anti-immigration group, and he writes about the danger of unlicensed drivers at his website, Unlicensed to Kill. He experienced a personal tragedy when an illegal immigrant, lacking a driver's license, hit his son with his car and then ran over him several times trying to escape.
By that time, a man in a car in the intersection had gotten out and stood in front of his car, and he stopped, and his rear tire was on my son's abdomen. It took 5 people to lift the car off of him, but he was already dead at that point.
Rosenberg believes that the common thread connecting the death of Steinle and that of his own son is the city of San Francisco itself, a sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city policies are clearly illegal. Obstruction of justice. If you or I tried to protect somebody in the country illegally, particularly somebody who had committed a crime, we would go to jail. That doesn't give the city the right to do it.
San Francisco's sheriff, Ross Mercarimi, is at the center of the media storm that followed the murder of Kate Steinle. After all, it was one of his jails that released Lopez Sanchez, despite transfer requests from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But Mercarimi says he was following the law.
For the last 25 years, the city and county of San Francisco has been very sensitive to the question of immigration and to the plight of undocumented peoples. About a quarter century ago, a number of laws, such as sanctuary city laws, have been passed by our Board of Supervisors. In 2013, a different kind of law was passed by our Board of Supervisors and signed into effect by the current mayor, called Due Process for All, that helps stipulate a limited interface between law enforcement and immigration, customs, and enforcement.
So do you believe that sanctuary city policies make law enforcement's job easier and make the community safer?
I do, and I think in a state like California and a city like San Francisco, being on the Pacific Rim and being such a hub for diverse, non-English speaking immigrant and undocumented populations, you could see the contrast in years before where there had been no sanctuary city laws or due process for all laws, where it was actually undermining and subverting public safety because of the lack of collaboration and cooperation between government, law enforcement, and those communities.
Mercarimi's argument that sanctuary city policies increase cooperation with law enforcement is difficult to measure, but a survey out of the University of Illinois found that 45% of Latinos stated that they are less likely to voluntarily offer information about crimes, and 45% are less likely to report a crime because they're afraid the police will ask them or people they know about their immigration status. And in general, first-generation immigrants, a quarter of whom are undocumented, are far less likely to commit violent or property crimes than native-born Americans.
But even if it was true that illegal aliens committed less crime than citizens, every crime they commit is an additional crime that shouldn't have happened.
It might be true that if you let fewer people in the country and reduce the population, there would be fewer crimes overall. But this scenario would likely involve some combination of mass deportations an invasive employer verification system, the ability of police to ask for your citizenship papers at every traffic stop, and billions of dollars more spent on border control. And the bottom line is that San Francisco is not significantly more dangerous than non-sanctuary cities of a similar size, and in fact experienced far fewer murders than many of them. It's hard to stop lone wolves like Lopez Sanchez, who didn't have a violent record. His felony record was a litany of drug charges and illegal border crossings. Why he fired a gun on Pier 14 that fateful evening remains a mystery. Kate Steinle's death is a terrible, perhaps inexplicable tragedy.
To just point finger at Sanctuary City or to vilify because of this tragedy may feel good in venting about their frustrations and anger, but it's only going to unravel, I think, the good work overall that is being done to build the kind of trust that needs to be built with these communities in the first place.
Politicians and pundits are always talking about the importance of high-tech foreigners for the US economy. But the fact of the matter is that low-skilled immigrants make equally vital contributions, and here are 5 reasons why.